This is the last, let me say, prepared lecture that I will show you for this course on service design, because tomorrow it's the groups, I guess, that will do presentations. Envisioning, which is the next step of service design. I mean, there are many more steps, but we only have so much hours in a week. And I'm aware you already do a lot of work for this course, which I appreciate, because I think learning about service design means doing it. Just reading a book or having somebody speak about doesn't help, but doing it yourself in groups or separately and then show each other, that makes a lot of sense. So after co-design, which we practiced, let me say, up till now, we should envision what the new world of express services would be. And envisioning as a designer is one part, but as a designer you propose something to the company and to the public, to the users, to all the stakeholders. So envisioning, as I'm speaking about it, means thinking about what the design should look like and communicating the new design to all the different people concerned, to all the stakeholders. So in reality, envisioning should be continued by proposing it to stakeholders, including the users. And so I want you to practice this envisioning in such a way that you could go and show it to the stakeholders and users. I'm not saying you should go now because of the restricted time, but we prepare in order to show to the guy in the van and the lady in the office and the person who is checking the receipts and, right? So prepare to show them. And that will be the end of this course, because then the week is over, but this is what we should do. So, this is what we have been doing today, co-design. Sorry for so this one, co-design. Now, I want to do the envisioning step. And if you can see, after envisioning, there is testing and prototyping in detail, and we will not do that. But we will do the envisioning again in order to provide all these recipients with ideas about, the system and the offering. Sorry for that. But later on also interaction. So this is what we are going to do now. Envision in order for all these people to understand our new ideas. Right? So the ideas we developed mainly actually together with the stakeholders, by talking to them, by interviewing them, by telling them a story or asking them to tell us stories. Good. So envisioning is the next step, including the interaction proposals, because so far we let me say, redesigned labels. We might consider to redesign a shelter for the person who is providing you with the packages and who is checking the receipts. So we include now the interaction, the system, the offerings, and the way the different stakeholders interact with the new system, right? So if you design like this one, a new label on the box, then the next question is to design how people actually read the label, understand it, use it to scan, and so on. So the interaction here is actually part of the game. So again, I would like you to choose tools, mainly from the website. You now all know where to find the tools, right? And you can now go to Envisioning and find out there's lots of tools. And some of them you already know, and a lot of them you already practiced, or your colleagues practiced and showed you how it works, so that's not too much new. But I will still go to a short list of tools, and some of them are already well known to you, and some might be new. And for some tools I will tell you, please consider to use these, because they are new and because they make a lot of sense, in fact. So, and for each tool you use, again, I would like to know how you use the tool and why you choose that tool. So take a tool because you think it's useful in this phase of envisioning and showing again to the stakeholders. But I also would like to know how you use the tool, and then for each tool, I would like to elaborate for the express case. So use the tool to make an envisioning that could be used in the express case, right? And that's the end of our course, because, well, this is the final day we have. Okay? So, one possibility is service image. A service image is about a unique picture that's able to give in one shot an immediate idea of some of the features, of the main features of the service concept. So, it's an immediate idea. Service image is to show to the stakeholders, to the student who wants to send a parcel, to the driver of the van, to the person who is checking whether this parcel is actually a new parcel, to the person in the office. Show them in a short shot, like in a 5-minute story or in a 5-minute picture, what the service means. So, if you are now going to design a service image, make it so that all these different stakeholders can immediately understand what's new, what's the difference, what's your design, right? So make a picture that tells the story in a couple of seconds, if possible, right? In my part of the world, we sometimes speak about an elevator talk. If you take the elevator to the 5th floor, and in the elevator there's a colleague who tells you, hey, what are you redesigning? Then you have just 4 floors to speak about your redesign, and then the other guy leaves the elevator, right? So it should be in 20 seconds, 50 seconds max. So make some kind of an image that tells the story very quickly. Like this one. We are now going to make in the railway station a new way to announce information. Right? So I use 2 sentences and a picture to tell you the redesign. Okay? Tool specifications. Well, tool specifications is about a written document. And tool specifications actually will grow during your design. And a written document definitely is not something to show the people in the street. This written document could be for the manager of the company, who should carefully consider whether your redesign makes sense. So a written document could be long, but should be precise and should be made to grow during design. So actually, I would for all of, I just presume that the same groups will continue for now. Is that okay with all of you? Yeah. I would like to each group to put their design also in a written document that's precise. A document that could be handed over later on to the manager of the company when you say, we have redesigned the logistics of your company. We have redesigned the way you label the parcels. We have redesigned the way the parcels get delivered, or whatever you design, right? So make a document, and the document need not be complete because we are not finished yet. So it should be a document that still can grow. So in the document you can put things like, this part has to be elaborated. That's fine, but build a document that in the end could be of use for the managers to accept or not accept your design. Because it's the manager somewhere in the main office that's the boss, right? So, and the document, it's a growing document, so at this phase it's not finished. Some things you have elaborated, some things is to be done. Okay? A context panorama is a visualization of the first service IDs. A visualization, this is again a thing that should be understood quickly. A written document you have to read maybe for an hour. A visualization you should be able to understand again in 5 seconds or 10 seconds of the first service ID. So this is again something that you could show to the student at the square. The student who picks up his pouch, you could say, this is what we intend to make for the future. And then the student should be able in half a minute to understand and say, I like it or I don't like it, right? So again, this is an envisioning for very quick communication. Like this one. Right? You can say, well, this is what we think that's important, this is what we are going to change. Quick and with a couple of words, a couple of pictures, maybe a sketch, but so that people who are concerned about the services can quickly understand whether this is something that would help them or not. System map. A system map is a description of the service technical organization. So this describes the system. So this is maybe not for the student who delivers his parcel, but this could be for the people in the office who have to create connections and have to make sure that the parcels go the right way and end up in the right van and so on. So this is a description of technical organizations, right? So again, it should be easy to communicate, but to communicate to another type of stakeholders. So depending on what you are redesigning, if you are redesigning a shelter for the person in the square, maybe this is not about the technical organization, it's just something you put in the square, right? So, but if you are going to rearrange the way the documents get labeled, like this one, then all the different offices should be able to understand how to handle this label. So then you could have a technical organization issue to represent, right? So make a choice depending on your redesign, whether this makes sense. But system maps are not for the simple users, but are for people who are somewhere in the system and have to reorganize the system. So, and this is an example, and you have been using it, so now use it in order to really communicate to the real people what is your change. Okay? Offerings map. Well, an offerings map is about services offered to its users. So this type of representation again focuses on the users, right? So this focuses on the people in the street that pick up their parcel, or the student at home who decides that he wants to send a book to his family. So this is a representation for users that maybe get new offerings, or where you decide to change the offerings. Well, make this one, well, by the way, this is in Italian. This is my Italian students doing this, but you can understand that if you read the language, you can quickly see what's going on. So there's a couple of steps, and each step has some effects to the users. Right? And sorry for the Italian, but I picked a picture and I didn't think about that you probably don't read Italian, I guess, right? Maybe some of you do. Good. Okay, a tool poster. Well, what's a poster? Well, a poster is for advertising the service. If you have a poster, you can put it maybe in the buildings of the university, in the dormitories, or at the entrance of a building, or at the entrance of the square, and it will show express services will change. We will now have different types of labels, or we will now deliver it in your dorm, or whatever, right? So if something changes that you want people to know, make people understand. So maybe you develop a poster, like this one. So railway share, way share. Right? So this is, we are doing things differently. Again, this is in Italian now, I realize. Sorry for that, right? So the previous course was in Italy. This is why. So, so my students made up a poster where they communicated to the public, the service has changed. Now this is better for you. So if you have something to tell, mainly to the users, and you say all users should know that from now on they could put their parcels in their own dome, or they could collect their parcels in their own dome, make a poster that could be put in the dome so students know. Yeah? And a mock-up, it's a model that illustrates an ID. So in a way you could say this is a model. It's a nice model, I very much like, and I made some extra pictures of them, because I think this helps a lot for people to understand. You can show these two students, put them on the floor and say, now find your parcel. Right? Or you can tell them, now at the courier, you could tell the courier, now find how to allocate the parcels on the floor, or wherever they have to put them. So this is a physical model of paper to show what should be on the tables in the canteen or in the restaurant, right? But this is in fact as good an example. And next time I'm teaching in Italy, I will probably use your boxes to show, right? Okay. Tomorrow headlines. Well, this is about headlines in a newspaper, and it's about, well, maybe design a fictional article about express service is dramatically changing its services for the public, or express service is now being much more quick for people to find their goods or to find their deliveries, right? So sorry for that. I didn't pick a picture, but so this is Could be an example of what should be in the newspaper, in the daily newspaper, if the service is changed and you would like people to know and understand. And the newspaper, again, is not a book that you read in an hour. A newspaper article should be read in 5 minutes and should make clear that express service now is better for us, right? Okay, good. So these are a couple of techniques from the website that I suggest you should consider, and for each tool, consider whether it's relevant for your change and whether it's focusing on the right type of stakeholders. Sometimes it's for the users, sometimes it's for the people in the office or whatever, right? Okay. So maybe for the shelter you should consider making a mock-up, right? Making something like this, making a model of a shelter and show how it could fit on the square, or make a picture of the square and draw the shelter on the square, or whatever you could invent here, right? If you decide to redesign a shelter, be creative, but you are, because this is a good example of a mock-up that make people understand what changes. Okay, design space analysis. If you make decisions, you still might consider this one. So 6 of you were here 2 weeks ago, well, no more, I think you were here as well, when we were teaching task modeling, and we did design space analysis in order to find out the relation between any design questions and the options we have to change the world, and the criteria for making a decision whether it's a good or a bad option, right? So it could look like this. What we have, like one question, how can we organize our client's administration? And maybe we found 3 possible ways to improve it, and for each way we compare it to all the different criteria, like should be quick, should not cost too much money, and, right? So, most of you know about it, and everybody now who participates in the course can go to the website and can find out about design space analysis, right? We did it. Okay, so, homework. I suggest in teams of 3, again, develop some detailed design with recipients as much as possible. In fact, you worked with recipients. Some of you maybe should still go and show your story, or maybe ask. And well, report your collaboration if you do. Use relevant tools for the system, for the offerings, and for the interaction. So whatever you are redesigning, choose on the tool that's best for that type of the redesign, for that part of the service system. And report for the techniques, why you use a technique and how you use the technique. This is the same we did all the time. And then report in analysis and design for the express service, understandable for the users and stakeholders that you are aiming. So you are now representing to other people, right? So your representation should not be for yourself, but for other people. And so the documentation should be for the manager who has to make a decision about, shall I adopt this system? So the documentation could be very precise. And the mock-up should be for showing the driver of the van that it's much more easy now to load and unload the van. So it should be very simple and quick to understand, and so on, right? So that's the homework, which is still a lot of work, but hopefully you can do this and choose based on your own ideas for redesign, and based on to whom you would like the redesign ideas to be understood, whether it is the students to deliver their parcel, or the people in the van, or the courier who is collecting the receipts, or the person at the office who is making sure that all the parcels end up in the right place, or the manager who has to make decisions. So this is my homework question. Okay, and then tomorrow we will be earlier than originally planned. We will be at 3 p.m. Right? Questions so far? Well, then I wish you good luck.